So as a part of our conversation today, we have the immense pleasure of having with us Professor Simone from Sapienza University, from the Faculty of Philosophy. Professor Polo recently wrote a new book regarding Anthropocene and the future generations. Considering this crisis that we are facing in Iran, it's quite an opportunity for us to hear him out about what is the relation between Anthropocene and water, what is our intergenerational duty, and what ethics can consider the crisis of water generally, and also in the Iranian case. Simone, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Shane, for inviting me. I'm very honored and pleased to be here for this important opportunity.
Thank you so much. Let me go straight ahead to the topic. So, what is the relation between Anthropocene and water resources and the climate? And let me be more general about this. What is Anthropocene?
Well, let's start from a very simple definition of Anthropocene. Anthropocene is the age we are living in, and it's the age, the epoch that is characterized by the fact that human actions are spread everywhere. Human actions are everywhere in nature. There is no more, strictly speaking, wild nature. All the planet, all what is on the planet is somehow affected by human actions. And therefore, natural resources, such as water, is affected by human action. It's not something that is just part of the wild nature. It's something that is no longer something that is independent from human actions. Because water resources are dependent from what human beings do, they are dependent from our responsibility and our ideas of justice in present times and across generations. When water is no longer a natural resource in the sense that is dependent from us. We cannot rely from fate or destiny. Water is somehow dependent on our actions, and therefore we are called into responsibility for this.
Thank you. And what defines the intergenerational responsibility that one has when it comes to the natural resources, when it comes to Anthropocene, when it comes to water resources, when it comes to the climate change that we are witnessing?
Intergenerational responsibility is quite a new concept, a new idea. Traditional ethics, not just Western ethics, has not really considered a duty, an obligation, a responsibility towards future generation regarded as distant human people. Traditional ethics has regarded responsibility as taken into consideration responsibility towards the offspring, the grandchildren, but not towards people who will live in 1 century, 2 centuries, 3 centuries, and we will never meet. It's a new concept, and is a concept that has been produced, as a matter of fact, as a consequence of the Cold War, that is the possibility to destroy humanity because of nuclear weapons and atomic bombs, and a bit later, in the second half of the 20th century, by the awareness of the so-called environmental crisis. That is the awareness of the fact that our actions as a species, as societies on this planet, as human society, we have the power to exploit natural resources in a way that has no precedence and in a way that can cause severe troubles to the survival of the human species and to the welfare and well-being of the humans who will live long after us.
So that's interesting, and it brings us to the third question. What is the relation of ethics and the usage of water, particularly for our generation, particularly in a context like the Iranian context, where it has been facing a crisis for quite a long time, and this crisis is now at a red level? What is the relation of ethics and the usage of water?
Well, basically, the relation between usage of water and ethical reflection, political reflection, is something that concerns usage and equal distribution, fair distribution of basic goods for human beings. As a matter of fact, water is not something that is equal to other goods that we have the responsibility to distribute in fair distribution in justice. Water is a fundamental good for life. Water can be said something that we have a right to in a sense that is a fundamental and basic human right to have access to water. So, thinking also in particular to Iranian situation, I think that access to water has to do not just with the level of economical development problems, it has to do with basic human rights. A society that has problems to grant citizens access to such a fundamental good as water has a problem with human rights. So we must think to water not just as a material resource, not just as an economic resource, but as a fundamental good for human beings. Human beings, just because they are human beings, and as an anti-speciesist philosopher, I would say also not human beings, non-human animals, they have a right to access water. A decent society must provide access to water as a form of satisfying a basic human right. It's not just an economic problem. It's not just a problem of distribution of resources. It's a problem of fairness and justice.
Can you kindly tell us about your latest book and what Iranian society can learn from that book?
Well, my last book is about justice towards future generations and about how we can develop virtues to raise awareness and responsibility towards future generation. My effort in this book is to elaborate an idea, the idea of a new virtue, or better saying, the development of an old virtue that is cosmopolitanism, an ecological cosmopolitanism. As well known, cosmopolitanism is the idea that national borders, political identities, they have no importance from justice in a very global sense. That we, as human beings, and I will add, as sentient beings, including also animals in a sense, we have a common good that has to do with the use of resources, both in present and future times here on this planet. Therefore, we should think to national borders, to cultural identities as something that cannot affect our ideas of justice and fair distribution. Therefore, I think that vibrant societies such as Iranian society, that for as far as I know is a vibrant society, is a society that is not surrendering to its present destiny. I think that if there is something that can be also fruitful for Iranian society among the ideas of Amuk is the idea that the destiny of a nation is not the destiny of ethics and our moral responsibility. We must think outside of the box. And we are living on one planet, and we are all citizens of this planet, and justice is too important to be oppressed by superstition and ideas that the destiny of a person is the destiny of a nation.
Professor Simone Polo, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you very much for the invitation, and good luck for everything.